My guest at this time is a former UFC heavyweight champion. He is also the host of GCW's Bloodsport. It is Josh Barnett. Josh, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me here today.
You're welcome. Just managed to catch me with a gap here to talk to you as I'm on my way off to the gym.
No problem, man. Some of my favorite interviews have actually been with fighters as they shoot off down the highway. One time I chatted with Chael Sonnen as he was leaving Roddy Piper's funeral. Can you imagine that?
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
That was a weird one. Anyway, I hope there's no funerals in your day today. Sorry, I took this in a bad direction. That was my bad. All right. Anyway.
Just depends on who shows up to train, whether or not they piss me off, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe a funeral today. We'll see. Well, Josh, before we get into all this, man, how are you dealing with everything? You're a physical specimen, man. What's it like for you to deal with the pandemic and the issues that come along with training right now?
I've been pretty fortunate, and that after about a couple weeks into the whole thing, I was just able to finally settle down and create a new schedule and a new everyday routine and get to work. Yeah. So it's been pretty good. I've got enough to get by at the house for lifting and what have you, and I've had access to a gym nearly the whole time, which has been great for me. And to be honest, during this whole pandemic thing, I've never been busier.
Well, and one of the things I wanted to also bring up here before we get into all this stuff about Bloodsport, you had a tweet that a lot of people were commenting on the other day about how you took this 3 hours to chat to a friend right now. Can you talk a little bit about just why you feel it's so important for people right now to be checking in on other people during the pandemic?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's not right now. It's always. If you're supposedly a friend of someone, or if it's a relationship that's meaningful and you care about it, then you get out of it what you put into it. And relationships are nothing but what you build. And building is tough, and building takes time, and building takes purpose, and building takes effort. Anything. Relationships, houses, cars, guns, whatever you're building, it doesn't matter whether it be the material or, the metaphysical. But okay, I mean, the pandemic has people looking a bit more inward. I don't know that it's necessarily being really used all that well by most folks. I think there's just a lot of people on Twitter freaking out and what have you, and basic social media because, everybody feels like they have to tell everything about themselves to the public these days.
Sure.
But I see a lot of people that just seem to be looking inwards, and they find that what they're actually finding is not what they thought. But the reality is, I believe that they always knew was the case. They just never really wanted to deal with it. And so, to not get too derailed on my opinion of society at large, basically it was simply a matter of I called my friend to just say hello. That's it. Not talk business or shop or anything like that. Just to say how you doing. Talk about the more inane and maybe distinctly personal, if not necessarily important, as need be. And it turned into just a giant 3-hour phone call that was really awesome. Actually really went into a lot of more technical and business stuff, but it was a conversation that I feel that they wanted to have. And as it turned out, it even worked out to be really professionally useful for them. So, hey, whatever. The whole point was, call your friends, check in on them, call people that to invest in your relationship if they matter.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, and with that, let's get to Bloodsport here. First of all, what's your reaction to Bloodsport coming back here, the collective running right now during the pandemic? What's your vibe here going into the show and the weekend itself?
Good, I suppose. I mean, I always feel very strongly that Bloodsport is going to deliver and is going to continue to try and up the ante every single time. So I'm glad for the opportunity. Not being able to do Bloodsport earlier this year during WrestleMania week was a big tragedy for us at GCW, and we had a really killer lineup put together, but obviously the whole thing falling apart was out of our control, as everybody out there, minus the WrestleMania itself event, everything was just dismantled by a pandemic, and understandably so. As much as it sucks, that's I mean, there's not much else that you could really say to that.
Right.
But well, I wanted to do 4 events this year if possible, and I'm glad that we're at least going to be able to do 1. So
4 do you mean 4 blood?
Not what I had.
Do you mean 4 Bloodsport events? You were hoping to do 4 Bloodsports this year?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just clarifying that.
Yeah. So, while it's not the 3rd event of the year at this point, that's fine. We'll work with it, and one is better than none, and I feel like this one is going to deliver. It's going to give people what they were missing out on.
Yeah, and I'm very happy to see Moxley is going to be on the card here. And we can talk about him and his opponent, Chris Dickinson. But, a lot of people have been waiting to see you and Moxley tango. That was originally supposed to be you and Moxley the last 2 Bloodsport events that didn't come together for one reason or another. Why is Chris taking on Jon and not you at this year's Bloodsport?
Well, I have some other prior commitments, so I'm not able to actively participate in this one as a wrestler, even though I will be there as a producer and booker, what have you. But I still, Bloodsport isn't just about me getting in the ring. It's about the nature of the event itself, the philosophical design behind it, and I'm really happy to be able to have Mox in there against someone like Chris Dickinson, and I think they're going to make for a hell of a main event, and we're going to continue on that legacy that we've been establishing since our very first event.
Yeah, why did you choose Chris here? Of everybody that you could have put up against a high-profile guy like Jon Moxley, why did you feel Chris Dickinson was the right man for you?
Well, Dickinson is as tough and gritty as they come. I know that he's got all the skills to go out there and perform, but he's got that something in common with Moxley, and that is they're just down and dirty, nasty sons of guns. And it wasn't just about how their skill sets would match up, or weaknesses, the strengths, and vice versa, but it was about the mental matchup as well, the spiritual matchup, so to speak. They both have something in common in that vein, and I figured, why not? This is like adding gasoline to fire, and I love it.
Did you get a chance to check out Eddie Kingston's match with Jon Moxley from this past Wednesday night's Dynamite?
No.
Oh, okay. It was a bit of a brawl too. I didn't know if it was going to be shades of what we could expect there. But with yeah.
I don't have any idea whether or not that's how things are going to turn out. I've wrestled Chris Dickinson, and I can't say I've never wrestled Eddie Kingston. I've only seen very little of his work, but I don't see them as being necessarily all that comparable in the way that in their skill sets. But hey, you never know. Not until the fists start flying, everything's just on paper.
Yeah, well, and with Mox too, a lot of the original Bloodsport crew were guys that had, kind of legitimate MMA backgrounds. Moxley doesn't have any kind of background in MMA. Have you had a chance to go to the gym with him and work with him? I mean, how do you think he fits in with the kind of MMA Bloodsport crowd you're putting together here?
Well, I mean, Andy Williams didn't have a quote-unquote background in MMA either.
Sure.
He had the background in knowing how to fight, and that's what's important. It's not about, this create a wrestler where they all have to do all these specific moves and have this completely specific background. That's not it, and that's one of the things that makes our show so much different from what people perceive this kind of wrestling to be. It's like, no, most of the time I get a lot of people showing me someone aping these skill sets, aping being able to fight, some sort of, show of it, but not the reality of it. And so it's a lot of people trying to be the packaging for something instead of the actual thing, and seeing that, conflating that as being similar or being equivalent.
Okay.
That's not what Bloodsport's about at all. And Mox, if you want to say anything about MMA, I mean, he trains professional wrestling. Professional wrestling's roots are essentially what make up mixed martial arts. The term no holds barred, which is what MMA was called in its earlier days, is derived from professional wrestling.
Sure.
Professional wrestling term. And if you watch his match versus Jake Hager, you can see that he's got skills, that he's spent time grappling, that he knows submission skills, and the man just pure knows how to fight. And that's what we need more than anything. If you're in Bloodsport, it's because I've seen something in you that shows that you can fight, that you can go out there and let the fist fly, that if you're cut, you're bleeding, you're hurt, whatever, you're not going to just roll over for anyone. And, you're not just out there trying to do pantomime what you think a fighter is. You just are it.
Yeah, and are you surprised to see the influence that Bloodsport has kind of quickly had on the business? I was there last year when, we saw William Regal and Moxley watching down on the fights. And then within pretty quick succession, you see Killer Cross, you see Thatcher. They're getting moved over to NXT. There's like this fight pit thing. They're going the Raw Underground route. I feel like a lot of and I know that you're going to say that there's a long history of all of this and everything, but I feel like particularly what you've done with Bloodsport has really had kind of a rippling effect on the business here in the past year and a half or so.
I actually wasn't going to say anything about there being a long history. I was just going to say,
oh, okay, good.
It comes down to two things. One, if someone thinks it's going to make them money, they're going to do it. And I'm glad that it's not just Raw Underground, man. I've seen things that are just straight blatant rip-offs of what we're doing as well from other companies, and it's fine. It just means that that they know that there's something there, that there's something that the people want, that there's something that the wrestlers want, and that there's electricity in it, man. There's something that they can draw from it. Now, they're not going to make what we make, and I'm not worried about that because they don't have the ingredients that we have. They don't have access to the things that we have. Bloodsport is the way it is because of our secret sauce, so to speak. So I'm not concerned about competition. I'm only concerned about making the best shows that I can make the way that I can make them, and that's what's important. Now, when it comes to the WWE and NXT, which picking up athletes from our shows, not a surprise. People like Thatcher, I have personally trained before. He has been training with me for years, and before that, he's trained with other fantastic people, and even has taken a seminar or two from Billy Robinson when he was still around. So the fact that these kind of athletes are being picked from my show and put into the WWE doesn't surprise me at all, because I believe that the people that me and Brett seek out and source, we do so because we have an eye for it. We can spot talent.
And I mean, knowing that, like, you seem so in tune with kind of what they're doing down there, I mean, have you ever talked with WWE about coming in and working with their talent, or maybe even doing more with that product? I feel like you'd be a layup natural fit right there for them at the moment.
I know people at WWE, and we have conversations and what have you, but there's nothing in the works as far as going over there and training folks or any of that kind of thing. I'm moving forward with Bloodsport as much as possible and a bunch of other things, but the option, I guess, is always there. If that's something that they want or something that we think would be a good idea, then I guess we'll do it.
Okay. Well, back to the Bloodsport card this year, because you really have a really unique card put together. Let me start with the women's tournament here. Can you talk to the fans out there a little bit about what they can expect and why you decided to include this 4-women one-night tournament as part of the show?
Well, I mean, regardless of who's in the ring, what fans can expect if they tune in to watch Josh Barnett's Bloodsport is the hardest hitting action in all of professional wrestling. No leg slaps. We're not pulling stuff. We're not doing choreography. We're up there to strip all the excess stuff away and just let The athletes, their grit, their determination, and what happens in the ring speaks for itself. So that goes across the board. As for putting together a 4-woman one-night tournament, I think one-night tournaments are awesome. And when you have so much awesome talent out there that you'd like to showcase it, why not let them fight it out to see who gets to stand on top at the end of the day. And with athletes like Allison Kay, Lindsay Snow, now we've got legit Layla Hirsch after Deanna Perato pulled out of all of her matches for the collective weekend. And then we Killer Kelly. So why not put these 4 women in there and see which one can come out on top that night?
Yeah, for sure. And another bout that that I'm looking forward to, or a little kind of clash of styles, is Homicide and Filthy Tom Lawler. Why the decision to go ahead with these two, since they don't seem to be? I mean, again, it feels to me like a contrast of styles here with these two.
Yeah, it is. But at the root of it, it's 2 people that know how to fight, and so it's a bit of a harken back to the early days of mixed martial arts, where you'd have a street fighter brawler versus a trained martial artist of some sort. I know in this case, Tom Lawler being the former MMA fighter, but I have no doubt that Homicide can hold his own, and with all the experience he's had in professional wrestling over the years, I'm sure he's picked up a thing or two.
Did you get a chance to check out Tom's match from New Japan Strong, or see what he looked like in that New Japan space?
No.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
I mean, to be perfectly honest, you asked me, have I seen this match or seen? Generally, the answer is going to be no. I don't really watch wrestling all that much.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. These are just, I don't know. These are your friends I know. I didn't know what you checked out or not. I will say this.
Well, I mean, some of this stuff you got to track it all down. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I just do not have time to go find every single. I mean, every now and again, I'll sit down if I can find it on YouTube or something. If I need to do a little research on a wrestler, I'll go out there and I'll take a look at stuff, whatever I can find. Although, that's not always something I can do, depending if they've had a match in an organization where, it's all locked behind a paywall, which I get. But as far as like just watching wrestling, no, I don't watch wrestling.
Okay, yeah, I just know for Tom, I feel like he'd be such a good fit for New Japan, and that's why I don't know. I know you've got history there as well. I didn't know if you'd had any thoughts on him.
Oh, I'm sure I bet he could do it. I bet Tom could do a killer job in New Japan.
Hey, yeah, 100%. Well, lastly here, while I've got some time with you, the other match I wanted to pick your brain about a little bit, Davey Boy Smith Jr., he's returning to the ring at Bloodsport. He's going to take on the North's Josh Alexander, the walking weapon. One more time here. Why these two? Why did you think that this would be a good pairing here for Bloodsport?
2 very established individuals, 2 very technical individuals. The Canadian thing just seemed to be just circumstance. It just worked out that way. But I just really felt that there was something there between both of their skill sets and strengths. Although there is always one major thing that is, I'm sure, going to play a factor, and that's the fact that Harry is substantially, well, maybe not substantially, but he's decently bigger than Alexander. But that also is to see what sort of strategy that Alexander comes up with, how to nullify that. A guy that's been around as long as he has, that's as technical as he is, you can only expect that he's got a plan.
Yeah, I hope so, because when I talk to Davey anymore in interviews, he sounded more and more like Stu Hart every day. He just seems to really enjoy stretching people and hitting them very hard. I don't know.
He does, very much so. And to be honest, that's always been the case. It's just that Harry doesn't always he doesn't always open up to the public about, well, what an actual maniac he is deep down inside. I mean, I've seen him in the gym tearing people limb from limb. I've seen him get utterly frustrated with not performing to his ability in full-on MMA sparring and just drop his hands and just let a guy hit him like 6-7 times because he's so mad at himself, and then just get back to it.
Wow. Whoa! What? But so wait, is it just a matter of time before we see Harry in an octagon? You think, or do you think that he's gonna stick to wrestling?
Hard to say. I mean, if that's something he wants to make happen, he knows I'll do it for him. I'll get it all set up, and I'll run his training camp, and we'll have him tip top.
I want to see it, man. Please make it happen. I want to see Harry fight so bad.
Well, I mean, people aren't all that aware, it seems, but I've been working with Harry Smith since before he ever even went to the WWE and before he was even old enough to drink.
Josh, I want to see it. I just want to see what Harry would do. Like, there's just so much intrigue for me, just after years of hearing how much of a badass he is in the gym.
He'll probably pull someone's arm off and beat him with it.
Jesus. All right. Anyway, we're gonna wrap it there. That's the best, I think, last tease we can get there for Bloodsport. Josh, is there anything else that you want to plug, promote, put over here, or send people out with Bloodsport, involving Bloodsport?
Hey, you can pre-order it on Fight TV right now. You can also order it as part of the collective, also on Fight TV. But hey, you know, if it's something that you're interested in, if this is the kind of wrestling you like, or the kind of wrestling, or just something that really piques your interest, put it out there, spread the word. If you believe in it, tell everybody else why, and inform them. Get more into the party. We don't want just a little collective down in a basement. Let's make this as big as possible, and you know, we're going to deliver on our end.